Hi there, I'm back with the new video on occupational medicine topics. I know this has been quite a while, I haven't been doing a video, and it was related to the fact that usually I'm reporting on conferences and congresses I attend in occupational health. And COVID-19 is our new reality, and most of these events have been either cancelled, postponed, or converted into virtual conferences. So I was like, what can I do and what can I share on this YouTube channel? And I decided to talk to you about three topics that I've picked up in the recent news in occupational medicine. And I will be starting with reporting about the first paper recently published in OEM, Occupational and Environmental Medicine, this journal. I need to say that I do have a link of interest with this paper because I sit in the editorial board as the social media editor, but I don't have any salary from them. So the paper I would like to report on is on a very important topic, although not very fun, which is suicide among agricultural, fishery, forestry, and hunting workers in Italy, and the contribution of work-related factors. This study has been published by Gianfranco Alejandro and his colleagues from the National Institute of Statistics in Rome, Italy. I will be sharing the links in the description box below. So basically this is an historical cohort study, and what's very interesting in this study is the number they have been able to collect. They were able to collect data on 1 million workers employed in this field, so agricultural, forestry, fishery, and hunting sector, what we also call the primary sector. And this has been compared to 15 other million workers from all of the other business sectors. They collected data from the 2011 census, and they had looked to mortality rates over the 2012-2017 period. So this study has been able to confirm what we already knew, which is that suicide is very frequent among agricultural workers. So they have been able to find a mortality rate ratio of 1.36%, which was statistically significant within male workers, but it wasn't statistically significant for women workers. And these numbers were especially high for casual workers and fixed-term contract workers. The mortality rate ratio was 3.01, which was as well statistically significant. So in other words, precarious works, low-quality work contracts were providing an increased risk of suicide. This paper displays also an interesting bar graph showing the methods of suicide. We are getting into very specific information, and something we usually think is that agricultural workers may be more likely to use pesticides to commit suicide, but this is not what actually happens. The first method of suicide for those workers is hanging, and it is more hanging than it is for other workers. And the second method is firearm discharge. So this paper is as I said, not very on a fun topic, but suicide on very specific population of workers is a very important topic, and especially to tailor prevention, especially on the easy access to those lethal means to commit suicide. The second paper I would like to report on has been published in another journal. Yes, I'm still dealing with paper journal, which is good because I have to go through all of the papers, which I don't when I have the email saying here is our new issue of whatever journal. So this is GOEM, the Journal of Occupational and Environmental Medicine, which is the ACOEM official journal. I don't have any conflicts or links of interest with this journal. And the paper I would like to talk about has been released in the September 2020 issue, and it's about Fukushima. So a Japanese team of researchers led by Koji Mori from the University of Kyushu has been presenting data on the follow-up of the decommissioning work that is still ongoing at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. So what is interesting is the conflicts of interest, or links of interest, at least links of interest of this paper, because it has been explicitly said that some portion of this work has been supported by the Tokyo Electric Power Company holdings. So what is interesting in this paper is that, of course, they discuss what they've been doing, the different measures and indicators in terms of occupational health and safety between 2014 and 2019. But a thing that was very interesting to me is the numbers of workers still working on this site, which is no longer producing electricity. So this is this graph. I will try to put it in a better way. So this line graph is displaying the numbers of workers still working between 2014 up to October 2019. And on the y-axis, you see the numbers of workers going from 0 to 8,000. So in here, the peak is around April 2015 at more than 7,000 workers still on site on this nuclear power plant site after the accident of Fukushima. So, and nowadays we still have for more than 4,000 workers. 4,000 workers still working currently on this site for a nuclear power plant that is no longer producing electricity. So this is quite interesting because we can think about the occupational risks for nuclear power plant workers when the power plant is still running, like when it's producing power. But we still need to have in mind that in non-active or decommissioning power plants, there are still workers, and this is not like a couple workers. There are still a significant number of workers on such nuclear sites. So decommissioning a nuclear power plant, whether it happens after an accident or not, still takes a lot of time. And it makes me think about another power plant I know a little bit, because it was close to an area where I used to live when I was living in France. So in France, there is a nuclear power plant that is called the Greenhalgh power plant, sorry. And this power plant was working between 1967 and closed in 1985. So this power plant has been working for 18 years. It was an experimental power plant, but closed in 1985. And now we're in 2020, it is still under decommissioning. And the projections are providing an estimation of the completion date. And you know what? The completion date is estimated to be in 2039. It would take 54 years to do the whole decommissioning process for this nuclear power plant after 18 years of functioning. So it's totally insane, but it's way longer to do the decommissioning when compared to the time of functioning. And in terms of occupational medicine, it means that you will still have some radiation sources of radiation, so exposure to whatever kind of ionizing radiation. So you would need to have protocols, guidelines, procedures to look after the workers and be sure that they are not meeting the thresholds in terms of radiation exposure, which is very interesting. Our nuclear power plants all across the world are going to get older. They are going to get decommissioned in the future, and this will require some workers. We can hope that this duration will hopefully be reduced, because there will be kind of an expertise that is going to be developed for doing this work. And the Brennelis example may be quite extreme. I don't know if it's what we may expect, but still, non-functioning power plants may still be exposing a large number of workers to some occupational risks. And I will finish this video on our main topic nowadays, which is COVID. So I've been personally involved in some papers and research projects on both COVID and occupational health issues on various topics, including personal protective equipments for physicians in community settings, or more generally in Canada, on the occupational health consequences of the aerosol transmission that was considered to be just possible in April 2020. And now evidence has been growing as to how the SARS-CoV-2 may be spread out through aerosols. And I've been also working on COVID in the meatpacking and poultry facilities. I would like just to quickly mention a paper that we've been collectively working on with a bunch of researchers, both from Canada and the UK, on making the list of aerosol generating procedures. Because as you may know, you may not know, deciding the types of PPE on healthcare settings was dependent on whether or not we had workers exposed or performing aerosol generating procedures. So the question was very simple. What are the aerosol generating procedures? And basically, what is very surprising is that there was no consensus list. So we've been doing this under the leadership of my colleague Sebastian Straube and many other peoples, and I will share the description, the paper on the description box. So and this paper is open access, so you may have access to it. It is, to the best of my knowledge, the first attempt to do this listing, this categorization of the aerosol generating procedure, aka AGP. And what is interesting as well is that first, the list didn't exist yet, and second, the evidence to say this is an AGP and this is not an AGP is very limited. So we identified a list of procedure on which there's a lot of agreement within the various documents we've been reviewing to say this is probably an AGP, like more than 90% of consensus on the various documents we've been reviewing. So autopsies, intubation, bronchoscopies, for examples, are procedures on which there is a large consensus to say this belongs to the category of AGPs. But there are some others on which there are a lot of disagreements, such as the oral and dental procedures, upper gastrointestinal endoscopy, or even nasopharyngeal swabs. All of this is not consensual. Like, not everybody agrees as to whether or not it is considered to be an AGP or not. So all in all, the COVID crisis showed us that probably a significant portion of whatever we do in medicine is not 100% evidence-based, and especially when it comes to using PPE, so saying that using whatever PPE is effective, or even this topic of AGP classification. So this work, which is very interesting, I do think, is probably the first step now to go step by step, procedure by procedure, to say this is an AGP. We have been doing some air sampling and analysis to provide some evidence to do a more reliable categorization of this. So this is it. These were the topics I wanted to deal with today. I hope you enjoyed this video. So if you have some suggestions or idea or critics to provide, feel free to use the chat box and commentary box below and share the topics you would like to have some more details or interesting papers or I don't know, whatever. And I'm wishing you a nice day. Stay safe and see you next time.